God damn it, Nick. Seriously, again?
What?
Your shit still doesn't work? How do you fuck this up twice now?
It's not that it doesn't work.
Did you transform like an Animorph into a seal?
No, okay, promise you won't laugh, okay?
I never laugh.
Okay. There you go. This is me. Okay? This is me. This is
Oh my god. Bald.
No, okay.
Bald.
I told you not. I'm going to put the seal back up. I swear to God.
I'll take it right down because I'm the one who put it there in the first place.
Okay, yeah, reveal all of our secrets, why don't you?
I already did in the last episode.
I shaved my head. What of it? Huh? What, you were expecting some non big reveal? You were expecting something subtle? You were expecting me to just not make a big deal out of it and turn this into content?
I mean, granted, you're not actually bald. It's just shaved head.
Yeah, it's just a shaved head. You know what?
That guy wasn't bald. He had a shaved head. Shaved. That's a hairdo.
Yeah, it's a very stylish hairdo. Hairdo. Okay, I shaved my head because, for only superficial reasons, because I did not like the way that my hair looked before. But then I turned it into a lesson for myself. You know, this is 2023. It's the year of me. I'm going to make a lot of changes in my life, including, but not limited to, buying a water bottle that tells me, oh, it's 7 p.m. You got to drink. I'm like 2 hours late. I got to drink all this water. I bought a blender to make smoothies. I bought an alarm clock so I can put it across my room and get up at the same time every morning. Started going to the gym. And it's almost been a month of doing all that. So you know what? I'm proud of myself. And this haircut is a reminder that every time I look in the mirror, there's a different guy looking at me. He's a changed man. And all starts up here at the top.
Getting to the top. Getting to the top. Getting to the top. Getting to the top. Boot-da-da, 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 Happy February, y'all. Again.
Happy February, y'all. Again.
Still February.
This is the Too Bad We Didn't Get Into Cars podcast. I am your co-host, Nick Scarpinato.
Yo soy David Kabushi Cars.
And this right here is... Did we use this last time?
I don't remember, but you didn't show it, so we didn't see. You just said what it was.
Oh, we used the sports car last time. We used the Opel Speedster last time. And today, we are using a... Hold the phone. You keep him distracted.
So, Nick is just the fucking worst, let me tell you. Like, every time he opens his mouth, I just want to, like, throw him off a cliff, you know? Throw him into some lava. I mean, I'd have a better chance of cloning myself, and then I will just be Kabushi Auto. No, that's his name. Never mind. It's a bad idea. I don't know. I wasn't prepared for this. So, Nick, honestly, fuck you. Fuck you, Nick. I don't like you anymore. We're done.
Wow, that was quite the trip.
What happened?
I ran to CVS and I bought a 1964 Austin Mini Cooper. And you know what? It's pink. Look at that. Ooh, look at how cute that car looks. It's a pink car, y'all. You want to see it?
Pink car. Oh, it's the new one you bought?
This is the new one I bought. This one I bought specifically because it's pink, and you don't find a whole lot of pink Matchbox cars out there. But also, I figured that pink would come in handy someday. And this is our Valentine's Day episode, so yeah, I think I picked the right time to break it out. Fucker.
It's a Valentine's episode with nothing to do with Valentine's.
Well, kind of. Okay, so before we get into anything else, I had proposed this idea to you, to David, semi-recently, because not that we're running out of ideas for episodes, but hypothetically, if we were running out of ideas, one way to give us more content while also introducing the other person to more media and more movies and music and games and stuff would be to create top 10 and 15 and just 13 lists.
Just top a bunch. Just top various numbers.
We're talking about our favorite movies, our favorite albums, and our favorite video games. And at least with the movies and the albums, our goal is to show one another our favorite movies and albums so that we can talk about the same way that we talked about the Lizzie McAlpine album and the Devin Townsend album. Because honestly, I thought that was kind of a cool idea. Our Devin versus Lizzie video on YouTube is probably the quickest, other than our Pokemon Hoenn video, which is up to 70 views, I think, which is impressive, at least for our standards. But our most recent clip that we uploaded before this last one, it's already at 18 views, and normally our videos hover around 5 or 6 on average. So people like when we put albums against one another, or at least they like when we talk about albums for the first time or movies for the first time. So I think this is a good idea to not only get content, which, Daddy made your favorite open wide.
Dude, I rewatched the first episode of Zack Stone.
Yeah?
It's so good.
I never finished Zack Stone.
It's really good. I think it's funny.
Yeah, I started playing That Funny Feeling at my shows now, but I have to skip the Pornhub verse because most of the places that I play, I can't just sing about reading Pornhub's terms. Has
anyone recognized it yet?
Not from what I can tell. I usually ask the audience. So when I play shows and I get to a specific song that I feel like people will know, I usually don't introduce it. But if it's a song that I know is a little more niche, like if I play In Bloom by Neck Deep, not the Nirvana one, because I don't know the Nirvana one, but if I play In Bloom by Neck Deep, I'll say, hey, here's to all of my pop punk fans out there. It's by a band called Neck Deep. I'll do that. But if it's like She Will Be Loved by Maroon 5, I'll just start playing it and people will be like, oh, that's the Adam Levine song. So with That Funny Feeling, I've introduced it a couple of times by saying I've been mixing up how I introduce it. So some days I'll be like, I don't know if anyone's seen the Netflix special Inside by comedian Bo Burnham. Or sometimes I'll introduce it as, so this song has been covered by Phoebe Bridgers. I like the original and this one because a lot of younger people, I think, like Phoebe Bridgers for whatever reason. There are a lot of reasons to like Phoebe Bridgers, but that's beside the point. I just think it's weird that both old rock heads and young TikTok people both love Phoebe Bridgers, because very rarely will a band or an artist come out that both demographics really like. I think Greta Van Fleet
is Phoebe Richards.
Bridgers.
Richard.
Nope. It's like a bridge, like when you cross a bridge. You're a bridger.
Who that is?
Well, she is very popular amongst the youth. It's one of those things where I don't think anyone has consciously recognized That Funny Feeling. But I think there was one show where I saw a kid in the audience and he might have, I could have sworn he sang the line about the drone part, and he did like a funny voice. He was like, because in the song, in the recording, there's a little bit of a vocal effect added to the line about the a book on getting better and delivered by a drone.
I don't know.
Whatever, man. Yeah, we're talking about our favorite things today.
Yeah, just making lists because I love lists. I love them.
Lists. It scratches the part of my brain that needs things to be organized. You know, it's just easier to think about my favorite things if I can classify how much of something I like. You know, or how much I like something. And you're no stranger to top 10 lists, or top lists in general. Your whole channel revolves around rankings and lists and things like that. And we've on the podcast talked about our favorite. You know, we've made lists before on the Too Bad We Didn't Get Into Cars podcast, and we might even make a list at the end of the year of our top favorite episodes of this podcast. I don't know if we'll do that, but. I don't even know if we'll be around a year from now. You know, the whole world could blow up. And we could just be gone.
Ugh, one can hope.
Ugh.
Ugh, end this shit
Not until you eat that polar pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta eat that first.
Shit's good as hell.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with each episode will flip-flop. So one person will take control of one episode, and then the next week, the other person will get the episode. So it's essentially like each month, we're each getting an episode. So today is going to be a Nick episode. Since last week, David, you did a lot of talking last week.
Yeah, for like the first time ever.
Yeah, I know. That's on me. That's my fault. I talk a lot, and you're going to hear me a lot today. So if you don't like my voice, or if you don't like me, please stay, please, we need the views and we need the listens, and I just want everyone to like me. How was that?
Not bad.
Want to clip that and make an ad out of it?
No.
Okay. Well,
no.
So anyway, so we're gonna start with at the bottom of each list, right? Because we've compiled lists.
Except movies. Movies, we're not doing that. We're just talking genres because I love lists, but I would rather snap my neck than try to figure out a top 10 movies list.
Yeah, so let's explain the criteria for each category. So usually in our episodes, we talk about movies or TV first, then music, then video games. So with movies, we're doing them by genre, like David just said. So today we're going to start with the superhero genre. You know, it's going to be a good time. I'm going to talk about my favorite superhero movie. And then next episode, Dave is going to talk about his favorite superhero movie. And you're probably thinking, I thought they missed the opportunity to talk about rom-coms because it's February 15th. And yes, the Valentine's Day was yesterday. Well, we're already late. We're already late to Valentine's Day, huh? Right?
True.
We already missed the cutoff, folks. So we're not talking rom-coms today.
Nah.
And then with music, that's a little bit more straightforward. We're talking our favorite albums of all time, not specifically artists, which we've done before, not live shows, but albums, like top to bottom. And those are what, top 10?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then finally for video games, we're also doing our top games of all time. But that list is going to be a little different. The number, I think, for you is 15.
Yeah.
For me, I may or may not still need to figure that out. If I have 15, I'll make a top 15. But I know it's on bottom, and that's what we're talking about today. Also, with movies and albums, we are choosing movies and albums that we can both speak on, and if we can't speak on them, then we're making the other person listen to or watch whatever we're going to talk about in the podcast. So again, we're exposing ourselves. That's it, and no one's caught us yet. So Uh, no, we're exposing each other to new albums and movies, and because this is the year of change and this is the year of shaving my goddamn head, I want to try new things and then watch new movies and listen to new music. So join us on this journey as we begin with
This
one small step.
long ass journey.
Yeah, it's going to be
Holy
like half a
shit.
year. We're going to be doing this for a while.
That's
Uh,
that's over a year, dude.
what do you mean?
Just even games alone, 15 each of us alternating, so that's 30 weeks, and we do them every other week, so that's 60 weeks. It's over a year. We can just straight up talk about our top lists of favorite games.
The math went a little different.
So hopefully by the time we get to number 2, you would have fucking played it already. Because I swear to God, Nick, I have to wait a whole year to talk about that game. This is fucking bullshit.
It's still going to be your favorite, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get on it, okay? I promise. So if we're starting with movies, we wanted to start with something that we've both seen already because this is kind of a new idea for both of us. And since we see mostly when we hang out and see movies, usually superhero, we decided to start with superhero movies. I remember the first Iron Man was one of my first loves, and I had a cast of characters that I had created that formed their own little team before I knew the Avengers were even a thing.
Blast
And
Boy.
The main character, sort of the leader of the group, was Blast Boy. And
Boy.
he was a
Flowers Unlimited. Let's go.
Flowers Unlimited. Oh yeah, fuck you, F
Yeah.
you. I remember that.
Yeah.
When we were in middle school, we rode the same bus. We created a comic company called Anti-Terrorist Productions.
Holy shit.
It was the most American thing that I've ever done, other than wear.
Anti-Terrorist Productions.
Yeah, the only reason I remember that is because in middle school we had to create email addresses as part of a computer class, and I created anti-terroristproductions@yahoo.com, and that was my default email for a very long time, including when I set up my first iPod. So now every time I make a purchase in the App Store, because I haven't figured out a way to change my Apple ID, it reads as Anti-Terrorist Productions. So at the very least, if the government is tracking everything that I'm doing, then they at least know that I'm no threat to them, officers. So, but yeah, Blast Boy was a character that I created who stole the origin story of Superman, stole the power set of Mega Man, and could fly around like Iron Man. And he was composed of almost entirely just basic shapes.
You're a ceiling fan.
My ceiling fan?
Yeah, you told me.
Oh.
You drew all the parts from your ceiling fan.
Yeah, because my ceiling fan, it had like the big circle in the middle, and then it had two little things. You know, it had 4 lights, but the way that they came out of the ceiling fan fixture made it look like a little robot, you know, with arms and legs. So he had a diamond body. He had really thin legs. I also kind of stole stuff from My Life as a Teenage Robot. I gave him a little belly button that was just like a screw. He had antennas, and his legs, arms, and antennas all ended with blaster cannons. He could take power stones and insert them into his little belly button, and they were all based on elements. So then, you know, he could use the fire Power Stone and become Fire Blast Boy, so his arm cannons looked like little, you know, flames. It was one of the coolest things that I've ever done with my life. And in 2008, when I was in 6th grade, Iron Man came out, which is, by the way, not my favorite superhero movie, but it leads into my favorite. When Iron Man came out, I was so inspired, even more inspired than when I saw Spider-Man for the first time. Iron Man in 2008 hit so different. It was a formative movie-going experience for me, and I was MCU ride or die fan from day one. So cut years later, we get the Avengers movies, we get the Captain America movies, we get sequels to both those, we get Iron Man sequels, Thor sequels, and we are far enough along in the MCU where a possible deal with Sony is struck, and there's a possibility that Spider-Man could show up in the MCU. Everyone's shitting their pants. And then the first trailer for Captain America Civil War comes out and shows a Tom Holland Peter Parker, who at that point we hadn't seen his face. He had a single line in the trailer, but Iron Man goes, and then Spider-Man flips over, steals Captain America's shield, lands on the frickin', whatever he landed on. It was like a container unit or whatever. And he's like,
hey everyone.
Yeah, and that's it. And then the trailer ends. And I remember I watched that shit over and over and over again. And that was my main draw. It was Iron Man and it was Spider-Man, my two favorite superheroes at the time, in the same movie. So naturally, going into Civil War was a huge experience for me. And leading up to Civil War was I don't know. It was special, right? I went alone because no one else. It came out when I was in college, and no one else wanted to go to the Thursday night premiere with me. I had class the next day at like 9 a.m. And by the time I got out of the movie theater, it was like 12:30. But I remember leaving that movie and not only being completely satisfied with how they did Spider-Man's character and how they treated him, not only being satisfied with the action and the story and the pacing, but it made me fall in love with Iron Man even more. I think the interaction between him and Steve at the end of the movie, where, spoiler alert, you find out that the Winter Soldier killed, like Bucky, killed Tony Stark's parents. And Tony asks Steve, did you know? That whole interaction was so tense, and it's one of the very few times, and one of the first times I think that I ever cried in an MCU movie, or teared up. I know, I'm being a little dramatic, but there was just something about Robert Downey Jr.'s acting and Chris Evans' acting and what that meant for the overall MCU that all hit in one moment. The fights feel very visceral and emotional. It's characters that you've known for years fighting other characters that you've known and loved for years. I remember the whole Team Tony or Team Cap debate leading up to the movie was really fun to be a part of, just figuring out which team you'd rather be on. Spider-Man being on Tony Stark's team made it a no-brainer for me. But also you got introduced to Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther for the very first time as T'Challa. And I was, we were talking about this beforehand, what my favorite superhero movie would be. And I said it was a toss-up between a couple, Infinity War being one of them. But I think whereas Infinity War is a culmination of so many things and kind of relies on your investment in the MCU up until that point, I feel like Civil War does that to a lesser degree, but because it does it to a lesser degree, it's way more accessible. So for me, going into Civil War, I could watch that at any time, and from beginning to end, it's a story that like could stand up on its own. Whereas Infinity War, if I were to go into that movie without having seen any other MCU movie, or if I were to go into that and try to show someone who's never seen an MCU movie Infinity War, I think it wouldn't go as smoothly as showing someone Civil War. Granted, that's not why I love Civil War, but I just think choosing between Civil War and Infinity War, that kind of helped, because I love both movies. But Civil War did a lot for Tony's character. It did a lot for reintroducing Spider-Man. It introduced T'Challa. The fight scenes are done really well. The acting is really good. That's the most surface level compliment I can give to the acting. Yeah, it was really good. The acting was really good. All of the emotions are very visceral, and the character interactions and the way that character ideals clash with one another over the Sokovia Accords. It's the political espionage of Winter Soldier combined with the flashiness of Infinity War. And it just comes together in a really spectacular, beautiful way, in my opinion. So I don't know.
He's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah,
Movie.
What do you think?
Dude, I'll never forget just like when they were talking about like, yeah, I got a guy, or I know a guy. And then it cuts and then Queens comes up. I was just like I just had like that smile come up because I also like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's like you knew he was about to show up, and I was just like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah. I remember my theater cheered so loud when Queens popped up. Because they did the reveal was done really well, where it wasn't in your face, but like for Spider-Man fans, as soon as you see Queens, it's like, okay, well, we know who that is. And then his little quips with like, Bucky and Sam, like in the airport when they're fighting, he's just like, oh my God, what's that arm made out of? Like, when, he was just nerding out, and his interaction with Steve is really good, where, Steve's like, hey kid, where are you from? He's like, Queens. And Steve is just like, he smiles and he's like, Brooklyn. He just runs away. It's moments like that are like, I don't know. I feel like Infinity War has a lot of hype moments, but there aren't as many like small character interactions because there's so many characters to deal with.
Yeah, because even before then, just like when Tony first shows up in the apartment, like in the room, and he's like, oh, like holding up the suit, and like the like when he webs his hand to the door, she's like, get me out of this. It just felt so natural.
Yeah.
It barely even felt like it was like written, But yeah, like you mentioned, Black Panther first showing up is really cool. Airport sequence, of course. Everyone describes it as, it's you as a kid with your action figures just butting them together. Is what that scene is.
Essentially.
Very, very solid movie. Easily my favorite Captain America movie. Because it really transcends Captain America. It's like Avengers 2.5.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, too, I feel like it does serve its purpose in the Captain America story, because like as much as it is Avengers 2.5, it like you get to the end of the movie and it's very much, even if Cap isn't necessarily the main character, or even if he doesn't feel like the main character, it's still his decisions that inform the rest of the movie. It's like, the fact that Captain America the fact that Steve didn't tell Tony, like, hey, we're doing everything that we can to rescue this guy, but this might be a conflict of interest for you. It makes Steve that much more of an active character in that story, rather than like, oh, I'm gonna join the fight because I've been asked to. It's like, no. Steve is the one who like champions that side of the Sokovia Accords, but also directly butts heads with Tony and butts fists with Tony. And I love the winner. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when like we all like actually thought like one of them was gonna get murdered when they were fighting. Like especially the scene where Cap he has like the shield, and he like rips, like he hits like Tony's like helmet away, and he was just like, I was like, oh fuck, is he just gonna murder him right now? It was crazy. That scene was nuts.
Yeah, right. And the fight choreography, there's there's a specific scene where Iron Man, where Tony is single-handedly like fending off both Bucky and Cap, and it's like that single shot of all of that action happening. It's just so well choreographed. It's a thing of beauty. Like, yeah, and because it's so much more small scale than Infinity War, I hate to keep bringing it up as a direct comparison, but again, these were the two that I was competing with in my head as to whether or not they were my favorite. But I was like, because everything is smaller scale, it feels a little bit more personal, and I think that's why I like it more, is precisely for the personal character interactions. You get the personal conflicts, you get the smaller scale fights. So even if it's not exactly like what Civil War was in the comics, I think the MCU Civil War is a good contender for one of the best stories in the MCU, at least in my opinion, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to hear what your favorite superhero movie is, but I guess we'll have to wait until
I know what it is.
Next episode to figure that out. So moving right along. Now we're gonna the rest of the episode.
Now I'm just gonna take a nap.
Oh, okay. So anyway, in 1852, explorer Dick Van Doofus. He's back awake.
No, that's the rest of my thoughts. I have nothing left to say in this episode.
Oh. Well. Get up! Sorry, that was a weird laugh. Anyway, so the episode kind of started with nostalgia, and the rest of the episode is going to be all about nostalgia too, because this next topic is an album that I made you listen to, but
I don't remember.
Has a couple.
I don't remember it all.
Yeah, you don't remember any of it, but I feel like the singles are really popular. So my top 10 favorite album, number 10, is the self-titled by Third Eye Blind. There's something
Second
about the
Eye
album.
Deaf. Second Eye Deaf. And First Eye Dumb. And a fourth eye crippled. Okay, I'm done.
God damn! You got 4 eye. Oh, so the person was wearing glasses.
Yeah.
And,
better than weird ass 3-eye person.
Yeah. Hey, don't make fun of Tien Shinhan like that. All right. He deserves love just like everyone else.
Tien's a punk bitch.
Hey!
You know what pissed me off at the end of whatever arc that was, where he was like, all right, well, you're probably never going to see me again. After they defeated whoever. And Tien was like, yeah, you're probably never going to see me again. Like, all right, dude, fuck you then. You ain't going to write? If one of my friends was like, if we like beat a hard game or whatever, and like, all right, well, you're probably never going to hear from me again. I'd be like, fuck you. Fuck you.
I think it's a little... okay, so I think that must have been at the end of the Boo saga, maybe? I don't know.
I have no idea, but it's the last scene Tien is in.
Yeah. Well, because I know he was in the Boo saga at some point, but like, you have to imagine, one, Akira Toriyama probably didn't plan on writing anything past Dragon Ball Z.
That
so he was like,
that pisses me off, man.
So he's like, yeah, whatever.
That's one of my... That's one of my... I don't know what the word is, but like, it's such a small thing, but it really annoys me.
Like a pet peeve.
Like, all of them are like that. Like, every time like a saga ends, and then when the next one begins, where they like see someone again, it's like, oh, I haven't seen you in like 10 years. Come on, bro. You can't write. You can't call them, hang out. What do they do all the time?
Train.
Come on, bro.
Not yet. We're not talking about Dragon Ball yet.
If you're friends, you got to keep in touch. Otherwise, oh, okay, I'll just see you in 10 years. All right, well, great. Anyway.
That's a very sweet message.
It's enough about Tien and friendships and Dragon Ball.
Yeah, save that for about like 20 minutes from now. So Third Eye Blind is so quintessentially 90s sounding to me. I know that's very niche and it's very specific because Like, Dave, what do you think of when you think music from the 90s? Like, what's the first song that pops into your head? Like, 90s song.
Enter Sandman.
Yeah. It's either Enter Sandman or, like, Smells Like Teen Spirit or, like, Britney Spears, Hit Me One More Time or Baby One More Time, I think is the name of the song.
NSYNC, or they...
Yeah.
O's.
Or Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, Backstreet Boys is my shit.
But for me, it's Third Eye Blind because my mom, along with Backstreet Boys, would play Third Eye Blind all the time. And my mom did this thing.
Pink bathrobe, a rare... Okay, I'm sorry. This is the only thing I'm going to say like during the segment, so...
That's okay. No, I mean, I'm sure you know some of those.
All right, fine. How's it gonna be? There you go. That's my review of Third Eye Blind.
Attaboy. My mom, she does this thing, and I say this during my live shows whenever I play this song. But I always mention how my mom would never like the rest of an album that she bought for the single. So in the 90s and the early 2000s, you couldn't just stream music. Like, illegally pirating music was still a new thing, aka Napster, aka LimeWire, aka the Pirate Bay, but I feel like that was more for whole albums. Yeah. So if you heard a song on the radio that you liked and you wanted to listen to it over and over again, you had to buy the album. So my mom ended up being tricked into buying a bunch of albums that she didn't end up actually liking, such as Enema of the State by Blink-182, and this album, Third Eye Blind by Third Eye Blind. And it wasn't until years later that I discovered the rest of the album because I borrowed it from my mom, and she didn't know, but it's not like she was going to listen to it anyway, right? And I recognized How's It Gonna Be. I recognized Jumper from that one scene in Yes Man. I recognized Semi-Charmed Life because it was fucking everywhere. The one where he sings about crystal meth.
I don't remember.
Yeah, no one remembers that part.
Jesse, we've got to listen to Third Eye Blind.
Bitch.
Yo, for what, Mr. White? You ever hear of iPods? Man, I don't fucking know, man. Whatever. I'm crazy.
No, that was good.
I'm
that
crazy.
Was good. Yeah, but so obviously I knew those songs, but I listened to the rest of the album, and it's so weird. I don't know if this happens to you too, but my favorite albums or my favorite movies usually aren't. I mean, like when the first time I listen to an album that ends up on my top 10, sometimes it's really easy for me to be like, that was a really good album. But sometimes I listen to an album for the first time and I'm like, yeah, it's not, it's okay. But then there's like one song that brings me back, and then I listen to the whole thing again and I'm like, this is getting better. And then, 5 listens in or whatever, you're like, this is an amazing album. This is really good.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Especially even a couple on my top 10.
Yeah.
Where like there was one, and then you listen to it again, and then it just slowly grows on you.
Yeah. That's why there's a quote that I think Donkey used in one of his videos from Jay-Z, and he was talking about how some of these review aggregates, some of these outlets that put out reviews for albums, they'll do it like the day the album comes out, or they'll do it after listening to the album once. And it's like,
I give it like 2 days.
Yeah. Well, it's like sometimes albums, like your true opinion of an album is different from your first impression, right? So it's like, but for the rest of time, these reviews on these websites are going to stay the same, even if the person who did the review ends up thinking something differently about the album years later. And vice versa is the same too, where like sometimes you listen to an album and you think you really like it, and then you listen to it again, a year later, and you're like, yeah, this doesn't hold up. Like, I loved the shit out of Sonic Highways the first time I heard it, and I listened to that shit all the time. And then a year later, I was like, it's easily the worst Foo Fighters album. Like, it's not that good.
Yeah, but man, one of the opposite happens, dude. Like, you remember that Genesis song I showed you, "Firth the Fifth,"
Yeah.
with the stupid ass Phil Collins hitting his head with the tambourine.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like I did my Genesis video and I mentioned it, but I just mentioned it as like just a highlight. Yeah. And then something made me listen to it again, and I swear to God, I think that might be the best song I ever heard now.
I think you said that in I was watching one of your videos where you said that same thing.
I have goosebumps for half of the song, and it's 9 minutes.
Yeah.
4 straight minutes, I'm just like, this is incredible. This is like legit though.
Which is nuts. Because like,
it's a fucking masterpiece.
The human brain is so weird. And the first time I listened to Third Eye Blind, I didn't think anything much of it, but I remember the hits because I was like, I listened to these as a kid. And then the more and more I listened to the album, which I would do pretty often because at that time I was driving back and forth to Decatur, Illinois for school whenever I would go home for a break or something. So I had 2.5 hours every time I drove to school or from school and no internet. Because you're driving through soy fields and cornfields and stuff, so I had to listen to CDs. I couldn't listen to Spotify or YouTube or anything, so I would listen to these albums over and over again on a loop. And Third Eye Blind was consistently one of those albums, because I wanted to listen to How's It Gonna Be. And then I was like, Motorcycle Drive-By is also a really good song. And then I was like, Graduate is a really good song. And there are now almost every single one of those songs I can, and there are like 14 on that album. And I usually don't like albums that have more than like 12 songs. I think it's a little overkill. But the reason why it's at number 10 and not higher for me is precisely that. It's a little long. Not every song is great. Almost every song I really like. But also, I feel like it represents it. Objectively speaking, like it's a good album, but I think I like it more only because I grew up with some of the songs. So I have to acknowledge that, objectively speaking, it's not the best, right? So, subjectively, even if I like it a whole lot, I can't tell you the last time I listened to it in whole, but I do still play How's It Gonna Be at almost every show. So obviously it's made a lot of impact on me, but I would recommend listening to it at least once. It's a really good rock record. It's not hard rock. It's not exactly pop either. It kind of lays somewhere in between where there's a lot of really catchy melodies, but there are also some really good jammy parts, and there are some cool guitar tones sprinkled throughout. I think I really like the song London. It feels like it's a very fast-paced, like punky song almost. Motorcycle Drive-By is a really cool acoustic song that ends up building into this, it crescendos into this big, bombastic, full band thing, and then it quietly and quickly gets quieter again towards the end. And I've implemented that exact writing style into some of my songs. So, I can't ignore how fundamentally this has affected me as a musician, this album. So that's why it goes in my top 10, but it's not any higher than number 10. Still, give it a listen, or just come out to one of my shows and listen to me play How's It Gonna Be. Follow me on Instagram, you lovely, lovely people.
I'm trying to remember how it goes. I'm sure if I heard it, I'd know, but yeah, I have nothing. I don't remember it, but
that's okay. That's okay.
I don't
you're also
most albums.
You're also not going to remember any of this game either, because
have I ever even touched this game? I don't know. They're all the fucking same.
Yeah. So my number 15 or whatever number this ends up being game, however long the list is my first ever home console game. I got a PS2, which, funny enough, came out on my birthday in 2001, 2002.
My first home console game was Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase.
Which is a great game and a great Scooby-Doo movie. Dude, I fucking love that movie so much.
Bro, we just did a Scooby-Doo escape room yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah. It's like,
How was that?
there's a escape place right by the Portillo's and like the Home Depot, by me. Yeah. Yeah, it was a Scooby-Doo one. We got an hour to do it, and we got out at 58 minutes.
Woo!
So it was a buzzer beater. We almost got possessed by a ghost.
Zoinks.
Zoinks is
Nah.
right.
Yeah, so my first, I got a PS2 for one of my birthdays. It wasn't my birthday the year that it came out, but it was one of them after. And I had been begging for a PlayStation 2 for whatever reason. I think I just wanted a home console, but I didn't want a GameCube, even though I probably should have gotten a GameCube, because in retrospect I could have played a lot of exclusive games that I probably would have loved. But
dude, the story behind my PS1 is kind of funny. Because my cousin gave me a PS1 and a shitload, like, random ass games for one of my birthdays. And I was like, cool. And a couple, like, maybe a year or two later, I was at that cousin's house, talking to his sister, which was also my cousin. And she was like, oh, you want to play some games? I'm like, sure. He's like, I think I got like Scooby-Doo or something. And she couldn't find it. And then she kept listing other games. And I was like, oh, those are games I have. So it turns out her brother took her PS1 and the games and gave it to me for my birthday. Oh, man.
how did that end? Did she ever find out?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I asked him. I was like, "Did you give me her PS1?" He's like, "Why'd you have to say anything?" No, I mean, I didn't give it back or anything. It was just kind of a funny moment. But my first console ever was a re-gifted system.
Dang, that's. I mean, props to your cousin for handling that so under the radar.
Yeah.
Like, was it wrapped and everything?
I don't remember that much, because I mean, literally, that was, fuck, I don't even know what year that was, but like, it was probably before the PS2 even came out.
Would be. Yeah, I think the PS2 came out in 2001. I think it was October 26th, 2001.
Okay, it might have been like 2003 or something. Wasn't that long ago, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but so I got a PS2, and my parents didn't know what game to get me because, I had only played Game Boy games up until that point. I liked movie tie-in games. The developers were making a lot of movie tie-in games in like the 2000s. Up until I think like Cars 2, I think was the last PS2 game ever made, or the last Wii game or something like that.
Wow.
Which is a movie tie-in game, or Cars 3. Can't remember.
because I know like the phase 1 of MCU got like movie games too.
Yeah, there was an Iron Man game, there was Iron Man 2, there was a Captain America game, there was a Thor game.
And there was that fucking piece of shit Hulk game. I fucking hated that game.
Oh,
it was like a
Hulk.
bootleg version of Ultimate Destruction. It pissed me off. I hated it.
Yeah,
I was so
upset.
upset.
Playing that too.
It's the first game I ever was like super disappointed in.
Yeah,
was
because Hulk was your man. Hulk was your guy.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get to him. I don't know,
At some
in
point.
like 8 fucking months.
Well,
sucks.
we'll have to see.
Sucks.
But yeah. So when I opened up the PS2 for the first time, not only did I shit my pants, but I also pissed my pants because then I opened up my first game, and my first game was Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2, as you probably saw in the title. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 is at the bottom for the same reason that Third Eye Blind is at the bottom. Objectively, there are better fighting games and there are better Dragon Ball Z games. But damn it, I sunk so many hours into Budokai 2 in the story mode, in the arcade mode. That was back when instead of buying characters, you had to unlock them.
I remember those days. Wow.
Yeah, dude, you had to complete challenges in the game that would get you these characters. You had to go through the story mode multiple times and go down, because essentially story mode relived all of the moments from Dragon Ball Z, because they didn't have any GT yet in the game, so I only knew about Dragon Ball Z. But I learned all of those characters' names, I learned all of the transformations, I learned all of the fusions, all of the names of the techniques through playing that game. And I had only ever seen Dragon Ball Z in snippets on like Toonami on accident, because I did not like watching Toonami. I thought it was too scary. I didn't want anything to do with it. But I started getting into Dragon Ball Z, and this game was a huge reason why. And it had it was like a shiny like artwork, you know. So like it had the artwork. It had like the 3 characters in the front. It had Majin Buu like in the background, the imposing figure, Vegito, Gotenks, and Gohan, I think, were like on the cover. And it was like holographic, and it was so sick. And I remember opening it up for the first time. I remember taking it to my friends' houses, and I put my yellow memory card, my 8 terabyte, you know, or whatever memory card, like in the little memory card slot in the PS2 case. And yeah, we would I would spend hours like putting different moves and transformations into your like skill boxes, you know, like, because if you played as Goku, you couldn't like do all of the techniques and all of the transformations, right? Like each technique and transformation had a certain amount of slots that it took up, and you had to build your character based on how many slots you wanted to use. So like if you wanted to use Kaioken and like Kamehameha and like Dragon Throw, like that would take up the same amount of slots as like Super Saiyan 1 and Super Saiyan 2. And if you wanted to go Super Saiyan 3, you had to have the previous 2 Super Saiyans already in your character slot. So it was like just playing around with all of these different variables. And there were gag fusions in there. Like you could fuse Tien and Yamcha in that game. You could fuse Hercule and Goku in that game. Yeah, and then Majin Buu could absorb Frieza. Majin Buu could absorb Cell. So there were like what if transformations. So finding all of those out were really fun. And then they had like the beam struggles where you would have to like jiggle the analog stick like as fast as you could to like build up a spirit bomb or to like beat your opponent in like a beam struggle. And I remember by the time you got to Kid Buu, I lost to Kid Buu so much. I hate Kid Buu. I hated Kid Buu at the time. I hate him now. Because he was a son of a bitch to beat. But yeah, I spent so much time in that game.
Did you ever beat him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I beat the story mode a couple of times after that, because you just, like in most fighting games, you just learned that you have to spam certain moves over and over. And yeah, it was a super formative part of my life. And I was just a kid, dude. I might have been like 7 or 8 when I first played Budokai 2. And I would get so many other PS2 games after that, but I always kept going back to Budokai 2. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I still have it.
Yeah, this was way before the time I got into Dragon Ball, because I only got into it like 4 years ago now. But like, yeah, Nick, fucking other friend Josh, just like worshiped this shit. So like I knew a couple things about Dragon Ball, but it wasn't until a couple years where I like really started to know. I never played this fucking... I mean, maybe I played it, but I think all these Dragon Ball games are kind of the same. It's just like... you just do the moves and then there you go. I mean, the new Kakarot game is like an RPG, so that's kind of different. But yeah, all these games are just fighting games. It's like, I don't know. For someone like me, I don't know the difference. But yeah, there's a couple games I'm not going to talk about that didn't make my list officially, like Uncharted 2, Mario Odyssey, Zelda Link Between Worlds, and Pokemon Fire Red, which we talked about Fire Red. But those are other games. Uncharted's just a really good story. Odyssey's really fun, and Link Between the Worlds is just good stuff. But yeah, I won't talk about them. Do you have it?
I don't have it.
Damn.
Yeah.
For shame.
I have a couple of my old PS2 games on in this apartment, but I don't know where Budokai 2 went. I do, however, even if I don't have the case and the game for it, I do have the strategy guide from Budokai 2, and let me tell you, dude, this had it had a limited edition DVD. I don't know where the DVD went, but it has Dragon Ball GT episode 43, and it has the Yu Yu Hakusho Tournament's End Super trailer. Don't know what the fuck that was. But yeah, dude,
GT
I remember
episode 43.
Yeah, which episode was that?
The Resurrection of Cell and Frieza.
Oh.
Oh, he's in hell, probably with those dancing dumbasses.
Yeah, that's probably exactly it.
Yeah, that's during the Super 17 part. Like all 3 episodes that was.
Oh, dude, I didn't even know they have fan art in the back of this.
Yeah.
Like they have strategy guides are so cool, dude. I know they still sometimes make them, but like
no, I think they're dead. Or at least that company's dead.
Like
Prima.
I can't tell you how often I would go into this strategy guide and pick artwork to try to draw. Like that's my favorite part about strategy guides is just finding images to draw, because I drew a lot as a kid. I don't know if we've ever really talked about that on the podcast, but yeah, they have all of these categories for like characters in the back. They had different colors, like color variations that people could wear. They had all of the combos. They have who voices the characters. I don't know if I've ever actually taken a good look at this thing as an adult.
All right, Nick, but yeah, we're about to hit an hour, so. And I have a minute and a half before my camera shuts off.
Oh man. Well, I have more to say.
Tough luck.
What do you mean tough luck?
Tough luck. Well, this is gonna be me signing off. You can finish it solo.
Like, check this out. This is being struck by one Kamehameha isn't a pleasant experience. Getting pounded ruins anybody's day. Goten's chief move is the continuous Kamehameha. It's not overly spectacular, but it does get the job done. You would miss little tidbits like that just for the sake of going to sleep tonight? Huh? I could go on for hours and hours.
I would actually, yes.
Anyway, this was a really fun game, and I am going to spend the rest of my night looking through this strategy guide, because honestly, it's bringing back a lot of really good memories. But with that being said, my episode is done. Next episode, we're going to take a look at David's bottom favorite game and album on his list, and his favorite superhero movie, which he does know. So, anyway, thanks for tuning in. I've been Nick Scarpinato.
I might have been David Kabushikars, but I don't know. It's been a long time.
We haven't checked in. And this is the Too Bad We Didn't Get in Cars podcast. Signing off.
Too bad my camera can't record past a half hour.
I'm getting a
Bye-bye.
Baconator. Bye.